call the Village of North Iowa Board of Trustees meeting to order Monday, December 2nd. Audience members are requested to sign in the sheet and provide the registration table. Seeing that we have none, let's get that part. We'll call officers.
Morning.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Streeter.
Here.
Stutz. Here. Will.
Here. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Announcements, communications. Does anybody have anything?
I'd like to make a quick one. I'd like to thank Stewart's for decorating the corner by Winnebago and Prospect. I think it looks nice. I'd also like to thank high school class came down and helped. I don't remember the teacher's name. I apologize for that, but they helped decorate the Yellowstone Trail Park along with Lori, who helped buy a couple new decorations, and DPW, who saved us from having to crawl up on top of the caboose. I think the turned out very nice. So thanks to everybody.
Yeah, the new icicle ones are pretty cool.
Looks great.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, thanks to everyone.
All right, anybody else? All right. President's business and staff reports, library, Heather?
All right, thank you. This week is our Santa night event on Thursday night, and so the library staff will be over at the community center for Santa's arrival. He's planning on being over there by 6:30, and hopefully by 8 o'clock the event will conclude. But we have milk and cookies and little treat bags for the kids, and also some entertainment by Fond du Lac Studio of Music. And of course, the man himself, Santa, will visit with the children. And so we're looking forward to a good night here at the community center. Then next week we have our library board meeting on Wednesday, December 11th. And then on Saturday we have our library book club. And we're reading kind of a lighter read for December, which is Winter Dream. And then today we set up our next paint event and various sheep, so something that we've never done before. So there's various levels that people can paint. So there's, an easier level, there's something in between, and then there's a little bit harder level as well. So we'll be putting that out there for people to get signed up for a paint night event in January.
Did you paint those?
I did not. I wish I could say I did. No, Alice did, so she'll be teaching on that class. Thursday, January 30th is the next one. So that's all I have.
Heather, did you get enough help for setup on?
I'm hoping the EMS will be able to come over. I contacted Jake today, and he said as long as they don't have a call, they'll be able to hopefully help us set chairs and tables on Thursday.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Administrator Nick?
Thank you. Last week, go back a couple weeks, I guess, for my report. Last week was a short week with the vacations and that, so it was not a whole lot to report from last week. Week prior to that, I attended a TSC meeting at the wastewater treatment plant. They're still getting excellent ammonia removal with their new POX system. It's a biologic phosphorus removal system that they've installed. It's from overseas, that is really the first in this area at all, and they've been giving a lot of tours to a lot of UW students because it's doing so well, and it's new technology. So that was good to hear. Mitch and I attended the local road improvement program. We have a subcommittee in our area, so basically all the towns and all the villages in the cities, minus the city of Fond du Lac, because they fall into a different category because of their size, kind of compete for every 2 years. There's about $45,000 to $50,000 available through the state for local road funding, and we do a good job of scoring all the projects and making sure everybody kind of gets their fair share. And this time the money went to Mount Calvary for Dick Street, so we attended that. I'm the secretary of that committee, and we kind of lead the charge on that as a village. So also the final levy amounts and the special assessments, we got all that information entered the last couple weeks to the county and their system, and the tax bills are printed. We have them. They are going to be going out in mail this week, so we will be starting to stuff them tomorrow and Wednesday. I think they're probably going to likely go out Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Also, the capital borrow that we approved and followed through with, all of the follow-up paperwork and the deposit has been taken care of, which is quite a lengthy process and a lot of paperwork. So that's all taken care of, and at this point, we're just kind of wrapping up the 2019 budgets. That's all I have.
So Nick, are the new Villager is out, right, and it's available?
The new Villager's been out, yeah, it's actually been out for probably quite a while now, probably about 3 or 4 weeks. Yep, it is available. It's at the front desk, it's also online, and at some of those locations around the community.
And was there any update when you talked about the wastewater treatment plant? Was there any update like on the phosphorus issue?
No, there's always more to come, but the PFAS issue now, if you've heard that term used in the news, they're talking about it a lot in the water world. They're also talking about it in the wastewater world. So, you know, once we get the phosphorus figured out, there's going to be something else to deal with too. So, I guess stay tuned. There are improvements being done at the plant for some of this stuff, and there are borrows being done, and we do have a new 10-year note that we're going to be getting here from the city shortly. It's a much very small amount. I mean, we're fine here with our budget, but it's not going to go away, the issues with that. So.
Okay. And I also forgot to mention, it was about a month ago at FCE, they had that presentation.
Yeah, yep, FCE, yep.
I did make it out there. I know everybody, it was kind of like a short notice thing, but I did make it out there, and Nick spoke out at FCE. They had they got a Made in Wisconsin award from, I forget.
WEDC, Wisconsin
Thank you.
Economic Development Corporation.
And it was pretty cool. Nick got up and he spoke for the village and talked about his history at the village and how was the farm field when we started and the progress that's been made out there. And then we got a tour of the plant. So Nick represented the village very well. So I just wanted to add that. I forgot to mention that last meeting.
Thanks.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Fire your EMS, Jake.
Thanks. Ambulances are continuing to stay busy. We went from our average 2 to 2.5 calls a day to a little over 3, so the guys have been busy. We listed that engine for sale on Wisconsin Surplus, and it didn't get to where we wanted it to, so we'll be relisting it in the middle of December. That's the plan right now, is December 16th it'll go back up. It got up to $22,000, so the issue being that we're seeing quite a few engines for sale right now, so it's going to lower the cost or what we're going to get. So we'll try again and see if we can get better bids. We had 2 new employees start this past 2 weeks now, so they started training, and one of them will be part-time and working regularly, and the other person will be more of a paid-on-call EMS as they transition through some more schooling, so, and hopefully get into a part-time position here in the next year or so. Hoping to have Adam back by the end of December. That's the goal, at least right now, is PT and everything's been looking pretty good, so the goal is to get him back before the end of the year. And not last week, but the week before, I went to the Optimus Club meeting and met with them and discussed the new engine. So some of the Optimus Club members are here, so thanks for inviting us to come out and show you guys the new engine. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Jake. Public Works, there.
Thank you. Crew's been busy repairing street lights on Winnebago Street and some along Prospect. Anytime you see a street light out, please let me know, because some of them are village lights, some of them are Alliant lights, and I have the maps to know which one is which, and I can assign it to the appropriate place to get it fixed. So any street lights that are ever out or blinking on and off, when they're blinking, I have to get them before the ballast goes back. The other thing's been going on, Jacob's Tree Service was in town and finished removing all the remaining stumps from the trees that we had cut this year. We're going to be trying to cut all winter long to keep going on the ash trees. And then the last 2 weeks, the street sweeper was able to get back out after our first round of snowstorms melted. We got the sweeper back out, and we also were out last Monday and Tuesday picking up bag leaves. For the year, we picked up approximately 4,200 bags of leaves. And the sweeper was 164 loads of leaves that the sweeper picked up from the streets. And then I also had some vehicles for sale on Wisconsin Surplus. Our 1988 pickup truck did sell. I feel we got a pretty good price for that. And then the Nev also sold, and I thought that was a fair price for selling that. I had the old sweeper up on there, and that didn't reach what we had set for a minimum. So we'll do the same as Jake, either list it again or list it at some other place. And then, we got a new janitor start today. He's a college student. He's gonna be working around his college schedule, working 10 hours a week cleaning the community center and library.
Nice.
Quick question, but what percentage of the ash trees do you think you've got down already? Ballpark, I mean,
I'm gonna say about 2/3 of them are down.
okay.
Are we using the same service that's grinding up the stump, or is that just bid out whoever bids on that?
Usually we ask for prices at the beginning of the year, and then we'll have that same contractor do it all year for us. So come next spring, when we have starting, we'll get prices from other contractors again. It's Jacobs Tree Service has been our kind of go-to. They've given us a little better breakdown per inch than some of the other places.
And then after they grind them out, then our crew puts the black dirt down and seeds it?
With Jacobs, they've been taking all the chips out. We're coming back in behind and filling them back in with topsoil and then seeding.
It's like mine grew pretty good, so that's worked out really well. I've had a couple other people commented also that they're happy with how it got ground out. The quality of the dirt they're putting in with the seeds, you know, growing the grass back in, right, so that's good. Thank you. Consent agenda, approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from November 18th. Approve invoices and authorize checks be drawn in the respective funds as indicated. General fund, $25,507. Library fund, $3,653.47. EMS fund, $1,043.13. Water department, $8,697.35. Wastewater department, $719.25. Stormwater fund, $361.07. Community Development Authority, $16.12, for a grand total of $39,997.39. And also approve the following operator license for Janaea Bleisner for Butcher's Block. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Will, a second by Stutz to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion or questions on anything? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Administrative, discussion and possible action on adjusting ambulance fees. Jake?
Yep, so in the packet, the board packet, there are a bunch of different pages from what LifeQuest sent us. I'm primarily gonna focus on page 18 in the board packet. It's, a table that's got 3 different colored, columns on it. So, we reached out to LifeQuest and asked for, recommendations on what they think we should be billing for, all the services that we provide. So they came back and the tan colored charge rates is what they recommended for us to charge. Now if you look at, we kind of gotta look at 2 pieces of paper at once here so you guys understand what the differences are. If you look what is page 15 and 16 in the board packet, you'll see what is recommended, and we went back and modified our ALS 1 and ALS 2 rates. So on the table in the tan, it says that ALS 2 resident and non-resident was recommended to go at $425. 18. So it's recommending, that's what LifeQuest said, $425. Now the reason that it was gonna jump that high is because in an ALS2 ambulance run, we use a lot of supplies. And when we went and looked at bundled billing and doing a flat $100 fee, we didn't account for the amount of supplies that we use in that specific incident. If you look at, in the tan there, it says 2 and 1 for ALS2, resident, non-resident. That's how many calls we ran. For that specific charge. Now, if you go across to the red, that's what I'm recommending that we increase the charges to or decrease them to. So I'm recommending that for ALS2, it's 100 for each one. And that's the biggest jump on here, and that's why I'm explaining that one a little bit more thoroughly. The rest of them are pretty much the same as what they recommend, other than interfacility transports. So I was reached out by St. Agnes, and we were discussing charge rates for interfacilities, and the discussion of contracts came up, and then multiple contracts with different areas of the hospital, and then it kind of transpired and trickled into, you know, all these contracts and all this stuff. And the way I'm looking at it right now is I think the best thing that we could do is become more competitive in that area with other services in our area, and just leave it at that as a base rate instead of getting into contracts, just based off the fact that it takes off less liability on the ambulance service, saying that we don't have to make every single transport that you're requesting, because I can foresee a significant increase in them going to these dollar amounts. St. Agnes also has run into issues with other services saying that they don't want to provide interfacilities for them anymore. And care providers, or care managers, I should say, at St. Agnes look for the least expensive route for the patient to go. And this puts us in the ballpark of where other services are charging, and I think that it would be a good idea to go to that instead of contracts. So this is, you guys have seen the contract for Waupun, and it's similar prices, so that's kind of where we want to go with it. We have seen an increase in interfacilities because of other services not providing them, and there's potential that there will be even more once we go to these, hopefully, rates. So it would go from the numbers that they have created so far, it would go up a substantial amount per month, so.
So the difference between the second and third column, it says using data from the, very recent.
Yep, so if you go the third column is what's projected for us to bill out in 2019.
Okay.
And then the second column is what was billed out in 2018.
With that, then, down at the bottom, it shows the total of that column, but then based on what we actually collect. Is that what the bottom is, estimated budget?
So, kind of. They fluctuate this, let's see here. Where is it? Yeah, so that number is what we normally collect, and then they go to the lowest amount, so they take 20% off that to show that even though we could bill out the maximum amount, the least amount that you're gonna collect is that dollar amount, if that makes sense. So we budget 46% that we're gonna write off.
Yeah.
Now, they take that, so 54%, and they subtract 20%.
Oh, really?
And that's, so they show that even though we could bill out $41,000 more dollars, the least amount that we're gonna get is $8,000, if that makes sense.
It does, it just didn't follow that, you know, that
Yeah,
46% that we
46,
typically,
yeah.
we've been, I was
Yeah,
curious why that.
realistically, instead of it being $8,200, it'd be more like 21,000.
Yeah.
About half of that 41.
Yeah, that's what I would
Yep.
guess, but,
Yeah, and this, I don't have the numbers, in front of me yet, but, we typically charge out in any given 1 month span, 70 to 90 runs, and, the most being 88, I think, so 70 to 88 runs. And this last month is, I think we're at like 114, so it's been quite busy. 502 is taking 2 transports today, and usually Monday through Friday, we're getting, you know, at least 1 a day, and some days it's been 3, so.
you said 100 and some for the month of, November?
Yeah, yep,
That's inter-facility and.
911, yeah, yep.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Randy?
I was looking over this, and one number that kind of jumps out at me that maybe I need to be educated a little bit is that LifeQuest is they're thinking that we should be charging on a lift assist $300.
Yeah, so that kind of got brought up in a roundabout way of on-scene BLS care and lift assist. So our on-scene BLS care accommodates the materials cost as well, and the lift assist charge doesn't, essentially. So, and it kind of puts us more into a ballpark of where other services are at with lift assist and on-scene care. So that's kind of how we came up with that.
So you're saying that if Grandma Tilly falls out of her bed and you guys go out there and pick her up, she's going to get a $300 bill to put her back in bed?
Yeah, and right now it's 400.
So we charge her $400 for a lift assist?
Yeah, right now, that's how it's set up. That's how it's been, well, it was, before we did the materials combined billing.
Because I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I mean, I knew years ago, we used to be, it was on a sliding scale. I mean, the first time it was, you know, they wouldn't get anything. And then if we saw a pattern here, then it would gradually go up. But I did not realize, so we've been charging $400 for a lift assist?
Yeah, that's been going on, I don't know how long, but it's a significant amount of time from what LifeQuest has told us.
And
That's-
people are paying that?
Yeah. I mean,
Holy mackerel. I guess I don't want to fall out of bed.
that's,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to, and the problem is that, you know, the majority of these folks are Medicare. So you got to accept assignment. And so other services are charging that also?
yeah, if you look at, page 19, you'll see, a lot of them charge it right in BLS on-scene care. So, and that's why if we use materials or provide an evaluation without transport, there should be the materials charge on there, but if we don't, then, you know, there shouldn't be. And that's why it came up to the $300, and that's roughly where everybody else is at right now.
Well, I don't see that, because I see on the bottom on page 19, I see the only number is the $300 that they're telling us we should be charging, and I see no other service here that has, there's nothing there.
Yeah, they don't classify it as that for other services. They classify it as BLS on-scene care. That's what they classify it as.
So we've got actually 2 different charges. We've got BLS on-scene care, and we've got lift assist. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So I'm actually trying to alleviate $100 off of these people that are just, you know, whether it's tripping, slipping, falling, whatever, so we can go there and pick them up. And so all these charges, essentially, if you take $100 off of them, that's the base rate. And then the $100 is our materials charge, which is what they took all of our materials, put them all together, and then divided it out by the call volume that we have, and it was like 101.60 or something, and then we decided on $100 for a flat materials charge. So that's how we came up with that, and that was in 2017, I want to say. So I think that's the last time this has been changed.
Anything else, Randy?
Well, I'm looking at now I'm back on page 18, okay? And tell me where BLS on-scene care resident is. I see
It's right under
40 at $25. Where else am I seeing this?
You gotta go to the next page for that, Randy.
I guess we're now on page 19.
18 is just the increase.
Yep. 18 just shows the amount of increase per charge.
Okay, so where's our charge for BLS on scene on this table right now? What we're charging in 2019.
If you go to page 19, all of the numbers in red are what we're charging. Now, if you go underneath, work down the page and underneath spinal immobilization.
Okay, yeah, I see it now.
So they have averages for every single charge over on the right side of our numbers, and it's 290 is the average for BLS on scene care.
Okay. Okay.
I just have a question. So the interfacility transports, we didn't have a price before. Is that what you're talking about before with the contract?
Yeah, so we build that out based off of our 911 billing. And so it was $750 and $850.
Okay.
And what I'm proposing is to go to 6 and 7 respectively for BLS and ALS. And like I said, a majority of the money that we get off interfacilities is from mileage to begin with. I shouldn't say a majority, but a lot of money is from mileage going from St. Agnes to Freighter or Aurora to Freighter or Theta to Freighter or vice versa in any of those. So mileage is a big one, and then getting more in a comparable price range as other services would be very beneficial for our service.
So you're trying to make us more competitive, and you're creating this so that they don't have to have a contract. It's just
Correct, yeah.
sort of a list price.
Yeah, and I think in April, our contract with Waupun, it's based off 1 year, and I think we'll just let that kind of go away and not renew it, and then just base our prices off of this and kind of go that direction. Just because how it's written in contracts is saying that I have to be somewhere at a certain time on this day, and if 500 were to get a call, our primary ambulance were to get a call, and we have to cancel a transport or reschedule a transport, that gives us that leeway and being able to do so. So I think this is the most effective route that we could go.
So then on the sheet, it has these quantities here. So then it says that we
Yeah,
are
this is
going to
confusing.
have eight transports. For Rule 4, it was 0, but maybe that's not exactly
So if you,
accurate.
yeah, if you look,
Maybe it was 750 and 950 before. Well, if you look on page 18, kind of in the middle, like the biggest increases on the sheet are from the $600 and $700 increases. So that's resulting in $4,800 and $5,600 in increases. So is that additional runs we think we're gonna get then?
so how they do the approximate build in 1 year period is they take the total call volume that we have, multiply it by the amount of patients that are not in Medicare or Medicaid. So 68 on the first asterisk there, 68% of our patients have Medicare or Medicaid. So they take 32% of our call volume. So we billed out 697 runs last year. They took 32% of that, and that is where they come up with the approximate billed in 1 year period, because that's guaranteed money.
Because
So-
you can't charge a Medicare patient any more than you already do, is that?
Correct, yeah, the state and, feds make a specific dollar amount that we can bill them, and that will get paid, and then a majority of it gets written off unless they have supplemental coverage. So, per se, Medicare, Medicaid, we're gonna pay you guys $176 and some odd cents. That's all we're gonna get, unless they have supplemental insurance. So that's why they completely alleviate them out of the question. So that's kind of how those numbers come about.
Can you talk again about the $600 and $700? These are additional ones that we weren't gonna have before.
No, they're runs that we're doing now, but they're being billed out at the BLS rate and ALS rate.
So wouldn't that should be billed at less now? And shouldn't that be a negative instead of positive $600 and $700?
No, because I had her add in 25 additional runs per year on the significant low end, to make that number.
Tell me about that. Where are they, I guess?
They're right next to in the white box where it says BLS and ALS interfacility charges. I had her add 25 in there,
What's that 25?
25 runs.
But I see 8 runs. This is over
Yeah, she didn't,
25?
yeah, she didn't add, I don't know why she didn't put 33, but she didn't.
So we think we're gonna have 8 more runs than this
No,
year?
I'm saying we're gonna add 25 runs. Well, 50 total, but 25 in each category.
That doesn't make any sense though, what's on here is different than what you're saying, though, right? Cause on here it says 8 and 8. Why is it 8 and 8, but it says?
Because that's what
25?
Isn't that 32%?
was 32% of what we actually billed out last year. And I had her add,
So we think we're gonna have 25 more runs in each of those categories, but 66% of them are gonna be Medicare patients, so we only consider 33% of them?
yes.
So we think we have 8 more non-Medicare patients in a facility transfer?
I think you're confusing me now.
We do think there's gonna be 8 more runs than this.
There's gonna be
For people
more than
who-
8 more runs.
But for people
that
who
are
don't have Medicare.
correct, yes.
Got it.
I don't know why she didn't just,
Well, isn't that,
Put
I think Pam was
33.
talking about, those runs were not billed there last year, so they're not necessarily new runs, the ones that we've already done. So you're saying there's plus 25. From what we
Correct.
did this year, there's plus 25. Well, this is 32% of the 25.
yeah.
So these are the additional runs, because the other runs are already included in last year's numbers elsewhere. That make sense? The transports were included, we're not on,
They're not in here anywhere.
they're not on the interfacility charge, right? They were on this, in a different category.
We're adding them to this bucket, but then when the other buckets go down, if you're adding them.
But that bucket's already there where it is, and then we're adding the additional 25 here.
We're not moving them from one place to another place?
That I don't know. I guess
No,
what I think
no.
what they did here is
What
they
I'm-
added the 25 here
Yeah.
for next year, and they just did 32% of that.
Okay.
The other challenge we have is with working with them is we can't just keep manipulating the numbers, and I'm guessing this was maybe a little bit overlooked, but that 8 is, what it's representing is 8 new runs, which is 32% of 25 new runs next year.
Okay,
So that is truly additional revenue.
okay.
In addition to what was done last year, is already included in the BLS space and ALS space that were not, because this is a new category.
Okay. I mean, that seems a little confusing.
It
And then
is.
what about the rate decrease? I mean, is that gonna result in increased collection?
Yeah, it's reflected in here.
How?
The red numbers
Tell me what red number is.
in the red column,
Yeah, I'm working on it. On page 18 or 19?
18, middle column, if you don't have color.
Okay, so they say 0 though. They don't say negative, they say 0, right?
Well, so the middle column is the amount of change.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that we shouldn't change them at all. So there's gonna be 0 change in our revenue.
But aren't you saying that you used to count them BLS base rate, but now you're gonna count them as inter-transfer? So before they were 750 and now they're 600?
I don't understand your question, I
Well,
guess.
because you used to, like, we don't have a prior year column. It says before it didn't exist, but I thought you said before we would charge these at $750 and
Correct.
$900.
Yep.
So aren't you going to lose $150 on every BLS that you do now? Or have less
From-
revenue for the quantity that is not additional, but the quantity that already was there?
The existing quantity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that's not?
No, it's not reflected on here, no.
Yeah, you're right. So how
I mean,
many
it-
was that last year? Do you know about?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's gotta be anywhere from 150 to 200. And it would range, I would say a majority were BLS, so I'd say 120 or so were BLS.
But then you have to take
But then you gotta
32% of
take,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's like $5,800, I guess.
Yeah. I think the amount of call volume that it will go up, will significantly help.
So Jake, you said we're getting to wait, you're gonna let the contract with Waupun lapse? in
Correct,
April?
yeah.
So like this last year when we were waiting for that contract and we weren't seeing any runs, because we were concerned that we weren't seeing any runs and the reason that we weren't getting the runs because we didn't have a contract. So why is that gonna be different after we don't have a contract?
Cause our
Some little-
base rate will be lower, like the base ambulance rate for specific inter-facilities will be lower. So essentially what happened is, we had a request of information, I don't know if you recall that, back in 2017. We sent all of our information to the company that requested it, they went to St. Agnes and said, this is what is being billed by this municipal EMS-based service. And then they went down, X amount of dollars and said, this is what we're going to charge, whatever they, came to an agreement on. And now, this is a ballpark of where they're at. So, I'm gonna hopefully be able to share this with St. Agnes and say this is what we're looking at going to. And, from verbal discussions and, with multiple different people at St. Agnes, it would help them out quite a bit. So, just based off inter-facilities and what we potentially could get for, call volume, more of what we're looking for. And we've seen it in the past couple of weeks.
Anybody else have anything? Mike?
I'm confused here too. I'll go back to page 18, and column, okay? So we're looking at, let's get the top one, 36, $10 increase for $360 revenue increase. Is that, it's already passed? Are you saying that's what it would have been? Is
Yep,
that what you're
yeah,
trying to say?
yeah.
Right? And
I
then
actually,
we'll
yeah.
Go past the next column, and that's,
That's-
what is that telling me?
36, it's the same exact,
What's it telling me different from column one?
nothing, cause that one didn't change from what, so the first column is what they recommended to us originally, and the
Yeah.
second column is what I went back to them and said this is what we should do.
Okay.
So,
And the
that's
third
why,
column is what?
the third column is taking 2019's numbers, how we have them right now,
Okay.
and saying, this is what 2020 is gonna look like, because your call volume is expanded, so, it's gonna bring in additional revenue.
So we'll go down to the ones in red, $100, and is that a decrease?
That, yes, and it's showing as a decrease, well, so each of them, the middle column of the amount of increase is, $100, right?
Is that an increase or a decrease?
That,
In red?
that is an increase, and then it's red because it's decreased from what they recommended. So they recommended $425 of an increase, and I went to them and said we should do $100. And then the second, or the projected revenue is the difference between the 425 that was recommended and then the amount that I am saying.
So you're saying, go back to red, so you're saying just raise it 100 or?
Yeah, I'm saying that we should raise it 100 instead of 425.
Okay, and then we go down to, again, that number, that 8, what Ann was talking about, to me, that's confusing because, there has to be some, I guess I don't get those numbers.
Yeah, I didn't get them for a long time either. I just figured them out like a week ago.
25 by 600, I mean, it's, I know it's 8 times.
It's 25 times 32%, which will give you the 8. And the issue with that being is it doesn't really project how many interfacilities we actually run, because the interfacilities that we ran in 2018 are already in this dollar amount. So if we were to say that we're going to run 200 interfacilities and split them 100 and 100, that would add in the additional revenue that's already in there. So the revenue for what we ran is in there, and I'm saying that we're gonna run 50 more transports, so we're gonna hopefully reach 250 between December 1st and December 1st of next year, because that's hopefully I'm gonna have to track it. And if we were to say, like I said, if we were to say there was 100 of each, then, I mean, the number would obviously look good, but it would be duplicating runs that we already did.
Going back to the 600, 700.
Yep.
This is just an increase. What is the charge? What's the charge going to be? I mean, is it going to be 1,500, 2,000? I mean, what's the 600 being based off? I mean,
It's
what's the
being,
current charge?
so right now we're charging $750
Okay,
for an interfacility transport at the BLS rate.
okay. So it's going to be 1,350?
No, it'll be 600.
But this is, it's an increase.
This is shown as an increase because it's a new charge. Does that make sense? This column is
New
new.
charge, but Ann's kind of correct, it's got to
Yep.
come from somewhere.
Right, but these
It's gotta
8,
come from another, it's got to come from another.
but these 8 are additional. This is what Jake was saying, he's projecting 25 of each extra next year. More than what we did this year. So we gotta add those 25 in here, and then they're adding only 32% of that. So that's why there's an additional 8. That's why this is an increase.
With the 100, you said 760, the 160, what there's left's got to come off of.
The 750 and the
50.
850 were in the existing calls that were done as BLS and ALS, correct?
Yep.
Got it.
And those were not, yeah, that portion of the math probably was overlooked.
It wasn't
Correct.
taken away.
Yes.
Those 8 should have come out of it.
I don't know how many it was. It was more than 8.
Well, it'd probably be
32% of,
maybe, I don't know. I'd have to go and look and figure out what the percentage of interfacilities to 901s that we run. So it'd probably be 33 to 40%, somewhere, or 35 to 40%, I'll say. And then you'd have to take that, multiply it by the 36.
36.
And then you would get how many interfacilities were charged out at the BLS 1 rate. So it'd be, let's say, 8.
rate 10.
Okay, yeah, let's do 10.
Yep.
So it would be 11, well, what's the difference? 150, so $1,500 in really fast math. I think it'd be $1,500 per year that we would be losing to go to $600. Does that make sense?
Right, but, and what Jake is trying to say here is that, yes, you're gonna lose a little bit of money on those, but his expectations is we're gonna almost double those number of runs. So, by doing this, does that make sense?
It does make sense.
It's,
but it
it's
doesn't-
hard to
it
follow,
doesn't
I agree,
reflect here. It
this,
doesn't reflect here.
this is the first time I've looked at these sheets too last week, and I still don't fully understand them, but, and I'm kinda walking through it with you too. But it is very confusing to understand, and like I said, that LifeQuest is not, I'm not saying they're not good to work with, it's just, we can't just like, say we need this change quickly, it's more like, okay, we wait 3 days for this, and we finally got this one right before we got the packet, because the first one they sent us, we didn't agree with, so that is probably overlooked, but I think in the end here, what Jake's looking at is by doing so, and it's already proven out from his conversations, and we're getting a lot more transports already, that if we do this, we're gonna get way more than enough transports to make up for that difference.
I get all that, but I just wanna make sure it makes sense.
Yep.
We're gonna present
Yep.
this to somebody. who's gonna have-
Yeah, I mean,
I want one more question. Three bottoms, they're recommending a $25 increase, but, you're proposing $100 and 175 to 300. So they're proposing 25 each at the bottom of that column. Take it over to what you came back with and what you're proposing. So why so much down there in that bottom three?
so the ALS on scene care should go up just based off the fact that, let's say we have a diabetic emergency, we're going there, starting an IV, giving them medication, starting, fluids, and that obviously costs more money than going there and, whether it's lifting somebody up off the ground or, lifting somebody up, evaluating them, and then letting them make the decision on whether or not they want to be transported. All of our ALS on scene care is, well, I should say all, because there obviously are outliers there, but most of our ALS on scene care is sign-offs, AMA, so against medical advice. So we're providing care, and we're, taking procedures that are more than the norm, and then they are refusing to go to the hospital. So that's why that would go up, the dollar amount that we're proposing is because we're using a decent amount of materials on those calls and, not getting a return. Does that make sense?
Just, again, they're recommending something down here, and hopefully they know what they're recommending, and also we're at this high,
Yeah, we discuss-
4 to 8 times as much as they're recommending,
Yeah, we discussed with Lizzie Trader's fantastic to work with, all the numbers that are on here and explain, and she wouldn't let us essentially propose something that would be out of the norm. So that's, even though that's what they recommended, they essentially went down the sheet and looked at what the average charges are for everything. That would be on page 19, and try to figure ours similar to those essentially, without going too high or going too low, so. I think that you'll see some of the on-scene care, charges they're kinda all over the board, so.
Is Fond like a different billing thing? that's
Correct,
right
yeah,
now, part of this-
yeah.
this,
Yep. And I do not know what they bill, so.
Do the other
There's this
municipalities not do
setup.
interfacility charges? Because there's no like comparable hearing there.
No, that's, I'm not gonna say it's hush hush, but it's a competitive area.
They don't give that out either because then you'll be trying.
If
to-
you request it, I mean, the municipality has to, but I'm not gonna run around. I've been told what other ambulance services are charging, and that's how I came up with my numbers.
I just have another question. So you said
Yep.
that call volume has gone up
Correct.
recently, but
I can tell you that a ambulance service decided to no longer provide transports for the area hospital,
Okay,
and, for specific ones, that we would be taking if they were unavailable, if that makes sense. And with us being able to do this, we should be obtaining all of them. If that makes sense.
sure. Someone, if doesn't want to do it anymore and we think with this price we could get their business. Is that what
Correct.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Just how urgent is it to get this thing approved tonight? I mean, the numbers won't occur. I guess, I understand we have to close that deficit we have in the EMS budget, but how critical is this to be improved? Maybe a little bit better understanding.
I don't know if you can approve portions of it, but
Well, I think, as far as the timing of it, how critical is it? I don't think it's super critical that we do it tonight. If you're not comfortable, we definitely can, I think it was a good discussion. We kind of know where you're at, and we can bring it back the next meeting. And, I mean, ideally, we'd like to have it passed as soon as possible, but, I mean, December 18th isn't gonna, it's not gonna break the budget. Jake, I don't know, you can add to that. If you have any, he doesn't like what I just said.
The biggest thing would be the transports. I've been working quite a few hours with St. Angus on trying to come up with a plan for them, so.
Can you provide though the kind of piece that's missing? The transports that we're already doing and then the decrease in price and then what that is? And maybe like variable cost per transport, you know, like for each transport, we make more, you know, we have higher volumes, but how much do you really make on each one? You know, so you can kind of look at the full business case to see if it really makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, is that gonna, is 2 weeks gonna be okay with, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
is that gonna cause
Should
any
be, hopefully.
issues with the?
Hopefully not. It shouldn't.
Okay.
So is the board in agreement that we'll just bring this back in 2 weeks? So everybody okay with that? Get some more information?
Yeah,
You know. Okay.
As long as there's no danger of something falling through the cracks, that, you know, I mean, if we're anticipating some kind of, you know, some other agency coming in while we're waiting, you know, something like that, that's the only thing I'd be concerned about. We get our foot in the door now to not take it out.
Yeah, I don't know of other agencies going in there, but I mean, it'd be in my eyes, step in the right direction.
Are you concerned, Mike, that that's too much? I mean, is that what
No,
you're
I'm
saying?
not concerned. I just want, the numbers should make sense to us.
Yes.
When we vote for something, they should just, I understand the whole concept, but the numbers, if we vote on it, they should actually make sense to us before we just stamp it, you know?
Sure.
I get it, we have to do something, and I don't think it's the wrong direction to go, but I'm only 1 of 5. And, lean on everybody else to weigh in where they sit on it, so.
I think the biggest thing with medical billing is it's pretty complex. And to actually, if you look at the reports that LifeQuest sends us, I look at them every first week of every single month and then log all the information that we need to know, whether it's how much we're writing off, how many bills that we sent out, how many patients are paying the bills, how much is being adjusted off, how many accounts are getting bumped into phase 2 or phase 3. I mean, there's probably 18 to 20 reports that I go through every single month to make sure that we're getting the best service that we can out of LifeQuest, and that all of our runs aren't just getting bumped into phase 2 and phase 3, so we lose profits, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff behind each and every single one of these numbers. It's just to understand the actual concept of medical billing it's pretty in-depth, and it takes quite a few hours to sit down and actually understand. If you, Tim Rosine, the VP of LifeQuest, could sit down for hours and discuss each phase of billing and each different situation that they run into. when
Hang
they
on,
go
Jake, you
through.
got a delivery.
Your pizza or
You got a pizza?
Yeah.
Going in back?
Yeah,
One in
it's
the back?
Thank you.
That was for us.
Yeah, it's on the EMS. It's on the EMS.
No.
Do you guys want to approve this now? Pizza's on its way. You smell that?
Can I just say?
That's my truck.
I mean-
Chuck Reed.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, I didn't hear you.
To me, it seems like, you know, you've got the 911 billing. I mean, those charges for that, now that's slightly different than in a facility.
Yep.
So, do any of these numbers have to do anything with the 911? Nothing at all, right? We're only talking at the facility right now?
No, we're the BLS resident Everything that's not BLS interfacility or ALS interfacility is 911. And then we'll put that, all of our interfacility charges will be BLS and ALS. The other thing to remember is the 911 system, we have one paramedic minimum and one EMT minimum on our primary ambulance, and our secondary ambulance is one advanced EMT and one EMT. So at the level of care, and that's minimum, but the level of care is down from what our primary ambulance does. So that's another factor to take in to, you know, the cost of the transport itself.
Before we get into facility, I mean, we approved new rates, it's very simple. We did that old rate, new rate. That's all we're concerned about. To me, it'd be simpler to do all of the 911, exactly old rate, new rates, all the interfacility, old rate, new rates. Just,
Yeah,
to me, that would be
And
straightforward.
you really have that here, except those
Yeah,
two
it's-
columns, right? There's two rows are BLS interfacility.
so, well, yeah, if you look at page 15 and 16, those two pages will show you what our current is and then what LifeQuest and we came to the conclusion on of what the rates should be. And then, as you can see, the lift assist and interfacility transports were added in there.
So where are the ones that went down? Would you say that's the 600, 700 that went down? Is that what you're saying?
So,
The reduction?
prior to this being created, all of our interfacilities that were BLS were charged at the BLS resident or non-resident rate. So it was either $750 or $950.
It's on page 15, Mike. Okay, yep.
And then, same thing with ALS. So it's all ALS 1, resident or non-resident. And adding in the interfacility.
So Jake, just to talk this, I mean, it's pretty simple math. So how many interfacility transports did you have this year, approximately?
I did not bring those numbers with me. I don't wanna, 150.
So 150. All right, so let's just, for the sake of this discussion, let's just say they're $800 a piece, because that's the middle between $750 and $850, right?
But they go down 150, I mean, you could do that math, right? You lose 150 on 150.
Yeah, you could do that. So they go down $150, but
Yeah.
we're taking 32% of that.
Is this before the 32%, these numbers here?
Let's just forget about that for now.
Because you could compare the two, because you lose this but pick up this. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. So Jake says 150 this year. Jake, what do you think next year? If you
I'm hoping 250.
So 250. Okay, so you take, that's what I'm just saying. You take 150, take a third of that, it's 50 runs
yeah.
at $800, right? So that's 4,000, 40,000.
Yeah, which is a little different because this is saying we're only gonna increase by 50 on this sheet right here, right? That's the 25 and 25. So you're saying, right?
Yeah, what I think Jake was trying to increase it by 50 because he was thinking
151 runs this
54%.
year.
He told them 50 because he was already taking off the 50% that we don't get
52.
paid for. Does that make
So
sense?
you guys doubled it.
Right, Jake? You were assuming 100 more runs next year. So you told them 25 of each because you were taking off the 46% that we don't get paid for, correct? Yeah. So we're gonna increase by 100 runs next year, right? So we go to 250. So those 100 increased runs, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So you had $40,000 this year, 150 runs at $800 a piece.
Sure.
I took 30% of that is $50, 50 times the 800 is $40,000.
Yep.
Right? So if we take a third of 250, you're at about 82, 83. So 82 times, what's the new charges? What's it?
Just say 650.
650 times the 82. You get it, calculator.
Sure, 650 times 82.
Yeah. So that's 53,000. So it's approximately, with all the reductions and everything, you're at about $13,000 of increased revenue based on the additional runs.
Yep. Yeah,
That's-
so,
Which
I
if
mean,
you
that's
look-
a little bit different than
so-
what's on here.
It is,
Yep.
it is. The way it was presented, the way they put it on here is confusing, I'll admit that, it is confusing. But to simplify it, I think that's what we'd probably present with you next
Yeah,
week if
that's-
you wanted to see it
That's
again.
why, if you look at page 18 and you add in the 4,800 and the 5,600, that's kind of where we came up, you know, because I didn't want to put that we were gonna get 25 true runs and get paid for all 25 of them. And then you guys would see, you know, our estimated actuals being like $70,000, you know, which wouldn't be true. So, you know, it's roughly, you know, this is showing actually less than the 13,000. It's showing
Right.
10,400. So, but it's hard to estimate when we have such a very small sample group of, there's people telling us that we could run a substantial amount more interfacility runs. And I have to take that number and say, what should I budget based off of?
And
I
how
should
many can you
probably
really
budget
do, too,
based,
right?
correct. I should probably budget based off what we ran the previous year or this year to make sure that next year, you know, I don't say that we're gonna run 100 more runs and we only get 5 a month, so we get 60, you know, so I think this is conservative in the interfacility charges aspect of saying we're only gonna get 8 more runs is what this is saying that are gonna get paid.
But if you're only getting 8 more runs, then you're gonna lose money if you lower your price, because you lose money on all the ones you're already getting, and then you do get 6 more, but it doesn't make up for the loss.
Mhm.
But if you're getting 100 more runs, then that's a little bit different.
Correct.
It is interesting to know though what's the additional cost for each run, you know, what's the
The
variable
actual cost for
Right.
staff and the
Yes.
ambulances and stuff?
Right, yeah,
Well, it's
I mean, could that something you would
roughly
present-
$40 an hour.
Yeah, so it's not a ton, maybe something you could present, I guess, because that's something that's to consider, like what is the additional, not just the additional profit, I guess, for on all those runs, not just the additional revenue. And I mean, you could do it for $1 and then you could get 1 million new runs, but you know, you're gonna lose money on each one.
Good point.
Oh, I'm sorry, Randy.
I think we should probably move forward with this. You know, LifeQuest is the experts here. I mean, we've worked with them for I don't know how many years, and I think I kind of agree with Chuck that maybe we should, you know, they prepare this, and I think, you know, I think we should, you know, move forward with this. I mean, I don't think, you know, after my misunderstanding about the lift assist, but you know, I think we should move forward. That way, we don't want the possibility of losing something from St. Agnes. It could help us out in the long run.
Hey, I'm sorry, reading down the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could compile any number that you really want though. So the cost of the ambulances, so on and so forth. I got a majority of that done.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, you know, breaking it down to the call volume, you know, and how many hours they're spending in the ambulance.
I mean, we don't wanna work harder and get all these extra runs if it doesn't do us any good. I mean, I think it's,
Oh, it'll do us good. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but
Mhm.
I'm saying that it will help us out. And it's just getting to that point where we receive the phone calls, you know?
Yeah.
And
no, I get it.
some of it has to do with, politics in the arena of interfacility transport, so this should help us out substantially.
Okay.
Just to add to that, I don't want to minimize all the work. I mean, Jake and his staff and with LifeQuest have put in a lot of work on this and a lot of time and effort, and I understand because it's confusing to me too. At some point, I kind of just have to trust Jake and what he's doing and moving forward with it, and that's why I don't have all the answers to all these numbers either, because they're very confusing. And every year we go through the EMS budget, it's very confusing to try and figure out revenues because of that. So at some point with LifeQuest leading the charge on this, along with Jake and his folks working with this, I am comfortable with it. So I don't want to minimize that they did put a lot of effort into this and did back and forth with LifeQuest on coming up with these numbers.
Mike?
Yeah, I'd have to try to maybe make sense of this, because we're page 19.
Yep.
That's the rate that we're gonna do. So let's work off that page.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with all those rates, I guess maybe that'd be the spot this stuff, you know, so, and then brown is the proposed, or no, recommended by, sir, I mean.
Okay,
You
s-
recommended the ones in the green, right?
so page 19,
Yes, that's all the rates for all the people that were surveyed.
yep,
Correct?
so,
I think it's a good spot to wipe all the other stuff away.
yeah, if you look, oh, sorry, if you look at the red,
Yeah.
those are what we're currently charging.
Okay.
If you look at the gray next to the red to the right, that's the average of the services that are all on this piece of paper. The green is what we recommended to LifeQuest and kind of came to an agreement on with LifeQuest.
Okay.
So if you take the difference between the red and the green, that's going to be the furthest right column of your increase. Does that make sense?
Yep. I think that
So-
simplifies things a little bit.
If you take on each one of the green numbers, $100 off, and that is our materials cost, that is the actual base rate for an ambulance fee. Does that make sense? So all of our rates have $100 flat fee for materials. If you take $100 off each one, you can almost overlap each one of the averages in our billing to try to make it comparable to all the other municipalities. And I've been kind of in and out of quite a few meetings with other services and discussing EMS billing and how they do things in departments that are similar to ours and some that are a lot larger. And some departments will go through this 3, 4, 5 times in a year and fluctuate the charges based off of where their ambulance fees are at for the year. So that's why I think just following an average, and hopefully we can stick with this for, I don't know how many ever years, you know, to stay competitive in the field. But if we can stay around the average and just stick with one number, I think that would be the best bet.
I think we should look at it almost every year, but it's my opinion. But one quick question.
Yeah, I don't-
know that last number, why is such a big increase? The last PLS on scene, I mean, I'm just kind of curious why that one went up 175 compared to the one above the pond. I mean,
It's the difference just based off a resident and a non-resident.
because the average is 708 and we went up to 1150, so I don't know how we could be comparable to that. So I'm just.
Yeah.
Pretty big increase.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Chuck?
I think, Ann, when you said, you know, if these increases, you know, are, the increased volume is worth the money making, but in reality, every time that ambulance or 500 or 502 sits in the back, we're not making any money.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think when we first started it, we estimated so many, but I mean, even if you had one more call a week or 2 more calls a week, it was tremendous amount of more revenue that
Yeah.
would
Sure.
be made,
But
so.
if you reduce every run by $150 to get 2 more calls, you don't come out ahead, is all I'm trying
I
to
see
say.
what you're saying.
So if you take our ALS rates, ALS 1, well, both ALS 1s, resident, non-resident, and then ALS 2, resident, non-resident, and you add up what the difference is, looking at page 18, that essentially makes up a large majority of the dollar amounts that we will lose going from $750 for an interfacility to $600.
Say that again.
So if you look at ALS 1 base rate,
Yeah, that's one base rate.
and let's look at page 18.
Yep.
Third count, third row, right?
Yep. 88 runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
$100 per run that we're increasing.
yeah,
So between that and then the ALS 1 non-resident
yep.
and then the 2 ALS 2 rates,
Mhm.
that makes up a majority of what we would lose by going from $750 for a BLS interfacility to $600. Does that make sense?
Not exactly, because you have increases here in those ones. Right?
I think what he's
Yes.
saying is by increasing those by
It-
$100,
Mhm.
that if you're gonna lose $100 on those interfacility transports, that's making that money up. alone.
without any additional runs.
It's because those are increasing by $100. You take 88 runs times that, you're making $8,800. I know it's not really.
I would just say that part's
Related.
missing out of here, right? The part about the current interfacility.
Yeah, and that's why I tried to go back to that simpler math of 150 and 250 runs.
Yeah. Yes, I would say definitely if we're going to increase by 100 runs, it seems like we would come out ahead, right? Although we don't know the cost.
I'm
of
assuming
the
that-
variable cost is minimal, right?
Well, so the thing about the transport service is 90% of the transports, we're already paying for the labor.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So
Right, there's like-
the cost is there, no matter what. I mean, there is still additional cost between mileage and things, and we tried to look at that when we put that other document together, when we were talking about that service. But it's minimal compared to the facility, you know, we're paying rent, we're paying this, that's all there still, no matter whether they're running or not, like Chuck had mentioned, so.
Yep.
Does that make sense to what I was just saying?
Not exactly.
So a lot of the differences will make up the difference in the charges for interfacilities.
Yeah, if you're just looking specifically though at a facility, you kinda gotta make that work, and your other charges will make it up, I understand what you're saying there, but I think what we're trying to do is look at just in a facility at this point and say, does it make sense to lower these to get more runs, you know? That's, I think, what you're zeroing in on, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
One last question I have. On your interfacility, are you charging out mileage?
Yep.
So that's a separate charge also? Mileage is not figured in? And you really don't use a lot of
Correct.
supplies then, right? On interfacility?
No,
Okay,
no, we use a lot of the hospital supplies.
okay.
So we actually, I changed our policy because of linens to hopefully not lose money on those either. So we'll take linens off our cot and take the hospital's linens. That way we don't have to restock linens every single time we go into your facility. All the IVs are started, any medication
Right.
that's running is started. If we have to administer medication that's on our ambulance, that's just, something we gotta do, but it's made up in the mileage if we're doing a transport like that.
Okay.
50 miles at $20 a mile is a substantial amount of money, so it makes up the difference.
There any other questions? Is anything any clearer for anyone, or what is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve the increase, or the rates proposed by Jake.
I'll second that.
You got a motion by Horning and a second by Stats to approve the adjustment of the ambulance fees. Give a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Morning.
Just so we know that this will be effective the first of the year. Is that what the plan would have been? When would this be effective?
It's
Immediate.
it'd be either tomorrow,
Oh, that's quick.
yeah,
Okay.
What would be the point of delaying that? Just out of curiosity.
I was just curious if this gets approved
Yeah,
tonight.
we're
when it will be
effective immediately.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
Price,
No.
Streeter,
Yes.
Stutz,
Yes.
Will.
I'm gonna say yes, just based off the chart of the fees scheduled from everybody else.
Okay.
And just so the board, I mean, and if you have any other questions for Jake,
We can
Sherry,
still
or
follow up.
Nick, and clarify anything else.
I would like to see Tim Rosine just make a presentation to the board. I mean, it's been a long time since I've, had him down. I mean, and I'm certainly he would come down just to give the board a little more understanding about medical charges and just to educate us a little bit. I'm sure Tim would come down or a representative.
I mean, if you guys can always email me or call me and we can sit down and discuss the charges and where we come up with them. I think it'd be better sitting down with Tim in a environment that isn't on live TV, and we can sit down and he can go through every little penny. So, there's always that option.
And we could do that as a meeting, it just wouldn't have to be on a normal board meeting night, we could do it at any time if you wanted
Yeah.
to do it as a whole board,
Yeah.
we could do that, so. That's up to the board. And we still will provide those questions, those documents, like I mentioned, and we'll, you know, we can still come up with a document and follow up through email with that, showing you the difference and what we expect and kind of maybe making it a little more clear on the interfacility.
Anything else on that item? No, okay. Moving down to ordinances. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 2019-7, and ordinance amending the Village of North Fond du Lac Ordinance 8.21 electrical code. First reading.
And I handed out a new ordinance that you did not get in your packets due to some back and forth with this. Basically, we are a delegated community as far as the state looks at us for inspection of commercial electrical. So basically the way it is the state passed laws a few years ago that if you weren't taking care of it yourself, so to speak, in the commercial end of things, that they would take care of it. The state would be doing the inspection. So we're a delegated community, so we do the inspection. Pete does we do it locally. He's not a commercial electrical inspector because you have to be a journeyman electrician to do that, but we do it through our village. In order for us to be delegated, we had to clean up some of our ordinances, and he thought he had cleaned up what we had sent out last week and sent it off to the state. He's had some back and forth with them, and they asked for some additional changes, which were made this morning, and that's what's in front of you. So really what you had gotten last week was just section 7. That was the only change. All of the other changes above that in section 1 and 3 are new. Basically, this is what the state recommended or requested we put in our ordinance as a delegated community. So it's just following, we have to follow these laws anyways that are referenced in here. It's just they would like that. It's similar to what we had talked about a few weeks ago about something else with having that in our ordinance it was the FEMA funding. So.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on this ordinance?
This is just my first reading. right?
Yep.
Yep.
So we still have time to first reading to-
Yep.
just receive this tonight.
Yep.
So if there's no other questions on this one, there's no action tonight, it's first reading. All right. Moving on, number 2, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2019-10, ordinance amending the Village of North Fond du Lac Ordinance 1.05, municipal court, first reading.
Yes, and as I mentioned in my backup, the town of Oakfield has approached us for joining our Lakeside Municipal Court. They had a specific reason Connie mentioned at the last meeting. I don't recall what it was, but there's something they wanted to address in their community. So they've asked to join. With that, our ordinance needs to be updated along with all of the other communities. And what I've done here is made a change, not a major change, but I've changed that whole first paragraph of it, listing everybody that's going to be in the court. But I also put in that sentence about and any other local government unit which adopts a similar version of this chapter as a member of the Lakeside Municipal Court. Therefore, we don't have to do this every time somebody wants to join, and maybe we just do it on an annual basis or something, and we're covered, because in order to be recertified as a court, when somebody joins, all of the municipalities have to pass ordinance unless they have this language in there. So we made this change to hopefully alleviate having to do this every time somebody wants to join.
Any of the commissioners have dropped off too, right?
Correct. Yeah. Good point.
Does anybody have any questions on this item for ordinance 2019-10? All right, it's first reading, so there's no action required. Chuck, did you have something, or?
Next item.
Next item, communications. Chuck?
This has probably been this way forever. Why is there communications under item D and also under item I? Are they different communications? I mean,
Because
It's
there's a
always
couple
been-
of us that are getting older and like forget.
or do you? Did you learn anything in training?
No, what I'll do is, I'll look at our operating policy. It spells out the agenda, and I don't know that. I don't know. I was just
I could see
just
announcements
copying
up
Chuck's
in D
agenda.
in communication. It's always been that way, and it just dawned on me tonight sitting here. We just.
I'll
have-
check into it.
It's not huge, it just seemed
I'd probably blame that on our last administrator.
probably.
Any other communications in this one? New business. Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion by Price, a second by Horn to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
So